Yes, very spooky stream, right? Isn't that nuts? This is a great soundtrack. I'll pull it back a bit though, okay? So I'm not yelling over it. Hey, Matt Fisher. Kieran. Sandeben. Natasha. Josh. Grey Goon Game Audio. What's up? Enjoying the tunes, Derek? Thank you. Yeah, me too. Hello, at all. How do you get to use the music on stream? Just a question. Do you mean like the legality of it? I buy the music personally, and I make sure I credit who's playing. Generally. I mean, if I played like Beyonce right now, it would play. And it's like very gray area whether I'm legally allowed to do that or not. I mean, it's probably not legal, honestly, because it's like a public performance. I probably need rights for that. But, I mean, how is that possibly policed? That's like why Twitch will mute portions of the VOD after the fact. If there's like the music detection says, oh, this you're playing like whatever. No, single ladies or whatever. In which case, yeah, you won't hear me talking because it'll be muted because they gotta, say Beyonce. So with this though, if it's like an indie game soundtrack, it probably isn't gonna get hated. Like this is probably a safe thing to play. The thing is too, I generally like using this platform to push stuff that rocks, and Carrion is really, really good. Holy, it's good. I've seen plenty of folks like tweet at whomever, like Big Giant Circles, or tweeting at Danny Baranowski, or tweeting at just indie composers and such, and saying, hey, do you mind if I use your stuff on stream? And they usually say, go for it, just make sure you credit my stuff and point people towards my music and so forth, like usually. But obviously it's just a courtesy to ask. I am going to tell all of you to go buy this soundtrack. It's by Chris Velasco. It's a Polish game, actually. If you don't know Carrion, it is mega sick. In fact, I should probably play the trailer for you, because this trailer is nuts. Is it this one? With like the animation and stuff? This is the reveal. I don't want this one. I want the one with the animated launch. This is nuts. It's so good. Oh, it's so good. 1 second. Let me just pull this across. Sorry, Chris. We're going to pause you. This is wonderful. And full disclosure, we have no involvement in this project whatsoever. I just like it. I think it's worth pushing it a bit, You've not played this game. It sounds absolutely wonderful. Soundtrack and sound designs by Maciej Niedzielski, I think. And also with some work by Jonas Turner. He's a pal of mine. He's done a ton of sound for games Lots and lots of indie stuff. I was not surprised to see his name at the end, because he's very into like the visceral, like, blood and gore. There you go, violence, blood and gore. He's like super, super good at that kind of sound design. So I'm going to play this for you because it's just wicked sick. Let's go. I want to see it again. It's so good. Sidechain off. for Switch, the most Nintendo game around. It is really good. Holy, it's good. Yeah, basically, it's like Metroidvania, but you are the monster, and it is so good. Sounds fantastic. Soundtrack by, again, Chris Velasco. Go buy the soundtrack. Mega good. Anyways, enough of that. when Power Up Audio doesn't have releases to talk about, I just talk about other games we like. And you get a spooky stream that just happens to be in October. So there you go. Works out well. Today, we got Facebook sound design manager Caleb Epps. I want to thank Andrea Chang for putting me in touch. Had a quick call with him today. I'm thrilled to meet him. He's got a real storied history in the game space. I have my notes here with credits and such. There's a lot of them. There's a whole lot. So he was at Harmonix for some time, worked on Rock Band 2 and 3, Rock Band Beatles, Lego Rock Band, Dance Central 1 and 2. He worked on Dawngate at EA, which hit beta and then was canceled, unfortunately. But he was audio director on that one. He is on Shardbound, I think maybe still. I might need to clarify that with him when he's on. But it's like an indie Kickstarter project. It's like a tactical CCG, I think. He was on Call of Duty World War II with Will Roger, who was also a guest host a long time ago, a brilliant composer. And he is now audio director on Facebook Horizon. So he's been all around, been around the block for sure as far as game everything's concerned. I'm gonna give him a few minutes. I know he's wrapping up another appointment right now, meeting or something right now. So I'm just going to give him a little more time yet. And I just want to catch up on chat too, because I said some highs, but on to everyone here. Yo, Justin, I saw you're gonna start doing game dev streaming too. Good for you. Hope it goes well, man. IG88 Music, there he is. Okay, that is Branden, right? If I recall. We're looking at Branden, Clarke, and Ian Strothers, I think his name is. Strothers. See, I really did go on blind. I'm not lying to you. It's like get the person's name right. Ian Strother. I think Strother. I was confused because his Twitter handle is Mr. Stutters. Strother. Ian Strother. Strother? I don't know how to say his name. Yeah, so we got Branden, Clarke, and Ian Strother, maybe. Ian can't be here, sadly. Tweeted at us saying that he wouldn't be able to make it, sadly. But we're still going to talk to you like you're here, so deal with it. It's fine. And Josh, man, these lamps are always at to play, man. Every single week they're here. Every show they're here. They're excellent. This is very oppressive lighting generally, so it's nice to have it on, for some warmer light later in the evening. These Among Us fan videos are getting wild. Thanks, Alex. I saw that. Good jokes. Yeah. Oh, left. Slightest clipping the left channel on stream. You know what? You wouldn't be. I think you might be right. I realized something weird is happening between my two interfaces for my PC and Mac. For those of you unaware, I got like a PC and Mac working together, and the outputs of both go into the inputs of the other one. And I just never listen to both at the same time to avoid, feedback loop territory. But like I'm watching the input right now on OBS, and the meters are not equal. And this is a mono input. Like this is definitely just both channels in. And the left channel is slightly higher. So I suspect that there's something going on like in the guts of my Steinberg interface. But I don't know. It is the worst of the two as far as the interface is concerned. I got an Apogee Quartet for the PC side. But I'm pretty sure that it's just slightly angry. So, yeah, Josh, let me know if it's like awful, and maybe I can just turn it down. In fact, can you just turn it down here? Like, I'll turn it down. Check. Yeah, I'm gonna turn down like 4 dB, maybe 5 dB. How about that? I think you're right though, Josh. I have noticed that, but it's only at like when something's just like tickling 0, and then it might be an issue at that point. So, anyways, let me know if more issues arise. But in the meantime, looks like Caleb is good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and give him a call also. By the way, we're on Discord now. Not like Power Up Audio doesn't have a Discord channel. Don't go follow us. It's not worth it. But rather, I'm on Discord with Caleb right now. So we're going to give this a go. It's not Skype. I know you're all thrilled that it's not Skype. I'm sure you are. Let me go ahead and give him a ring here. Okay, let's go. And we'll see if this behaves or not. Hello.
Is it working?
Is it working? Okay, and everyone in chat, hold on to your hats and your socks because I'm about to blow them off. Check it out. There we go. Oh my God, production quality is going up fast. Now we can see Caleb's garage.
Exactly. Oh. Welcome to the garage zone. This is where the work happens. I don't know.
It kind of works. It seems to kind of work. Yeah, the video panel, the pane is smaller for you than it is for me. That is not at all a comment on like quality of work or experience or value of opinions. You merely just fit there. So I should probably get myself shrunk at some point. Hey man, thank you so much for joining us again.
Totally.
As I say every time, it's like crazy hard to find time for basically anything. I feel like working from home, especially, people are like working at 80% productivity tops, and it's like I'm low on time all the time. So yeah, really appreciate you making that time.
Oh, of course. Like, been a big fan of the show for a long time, and I don't know. I said when we were talking before, like folks who come and hit me up for, what should I do when I'm getting into the industry? I always point them this way. So it's nice to be on,
killer.
And listen to some reels and give some feedback.
Okay, thanks so much. I mentioned previously we have Ian Strother and Branden Clarke. Branden is in the chat. IG88 music, I think, was the handle. Yeah, there he is. And yeah, Ian can't make it, but we'll still talk to him like he's here. So he'll be watching the replay for sure. He let me know earlier in the day. So,
sweet.
Anyways, I gave a bit of a rundown on kind of where you come from and such. And I mean, pretty sick resume, man. Actually,
thanks. It's been a while.
I looked into your website after we were chatting too, and I was like, there's a lot of stuff here. So,
yeah.
Anyways,
it's the worst website in the world. So,
well,
everybody who is presenting today has a better website than I do.
I think that's kind of the case with like everybody who's like employed right now, right? You're not putting you're not hustling on your web presence and such. You're just hustling on the work that you're currently contracted to do.
That's always what I tell people. I'm like, man, I'm shipping games. I don't care about this web stuff. But
I mean, the grand irony being that Power Up has basically never had a reel, and we run a demo reel review stream. So, anyways, okay, yeah. So right, sound design manager at Facebook. You're audio director on Facebook Horizon right now. But I listed a whole lot of things before that. So one thing I'd love if you could share with us, since this is a stream all about people finding traction in their corner of the industry, whatever corner they've chosen. It's great to know how people may have gotten their start, like people who are well established, like yourself. It's just good to remind ourselves that everyone did start somewhere, and though that might not be a template for how someone else may approach getting into the industry, there certainly are. I'm probably like lessons to be learned and such. So. If you wouldn't mind, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. So my kind of journey into game audio, there are a couple of key moments, probably 3 key moments. The first was, so I was in college, and I told myself, I'd been a singer when I was younger and been in choir and all that, and took lots of music classes, and took AP music tests. And when I got to college, I thought that I was going to be a music major, and I didn't know how to play piano. I had taken lessons when I was little, and one of the requirements for being a music major was taking a piano test.
Mm-hmm.
And
I had to do that too, actually. Yeah.
yeah, I 100% chickened out. Um, and I was like, okay, I will be an economics major and will make money and become an investment banker. That's what I'm going to do. Really, that didn't go so well. That's not the degree I graduated with. But a friend of mine one day, his name's Jesse Green. He's a video artist now. I guess he was back then too. But he was, there was a group called Matmos. They're an electronic music duo. And they were giving a class to a bunch of advanced music students. And it was my friend Jesse's job to like mind them on campus, like go there to meet them, show them around, et cetera, et cetera. And he was like, there's a spot in this master class. Do you want to come? And I was like, yeah, 100%. So I showed up for this day. And it was this day with Matmos and this local artist named Keith Fullerton Whitman, who does tons of work in Max MSP and is like super, super brilliant. And so they went through all their workflows and how they make music. You know, they were showing us digital performer windows. That's like kind of dates me. But I was just super inspired and I was like, I've got to start doing this. And so, you know, I was able to get myself a like cracked copy of Reason. No, it's still Rebirth, like pre-Reason.
Sure. Try before buy, classic.
Yeah. And started making beats, you know, and I managed to, you know, find a cheap MPC 2000 XL and started using that to record things and make beats, and started doing theater scores for my friends who were doing plays. And then I also started DJing. I got kicked out of school for not going to class. This is Harvard, mind you. I got kicked out. And so I had to take a year off from school and I had to get a job for like 6 months. So while I was working in that job, I earned enough money to buy myself a set of turntables. And when I came back to campus the next year, I started DJing parties. And I know this is a very lengthy story. I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
We're getting to the second key moment.
We got time, man. There's no problem.
At those parties, I would oftentimes bands would play early in the night, and then I would close out the party. And one of the bands that was that I opened for a bunch of times was a band called would go on. They were called the Blanks at the time. They would go on to be called. Most of the members would join a band called the Main Drag. And so the members of the Main Drag were Matt Bach, who did the score for Ape Out.
Awesome.
John Drake, who was a long time sort of head of portfolio at PlayStation and is now at Disney. I'm just name dropping everybody. I feel so icky. John Carter and Adam Arrigo, who are both at Wave VR, which is like the sort of a big VR concert purveyor. And so that squad of people, you know, John Carter, John Drake, and Matt Bach all got jobs at Harmonix after school, and I knew them well because we played parties together, and I hit them up. And I said, like, hey, are y'all hiring in your audio department? I think I'd like to be a sound designer or maybe a producer. I like talking about games. I could be like, you know, out in front talking about things. I could be, you know, I would see like, you know, I would obsessively read gaming magazines back then and be like, well, interview with this producer from this game. So I'm like, they seem important. So I got hired on as a sound designer. Eric Brocious was my first audio director, and he took a chance on me. And I'm like, so glad he did. So that's sort of how I got my first gig. And the rest sort of flowed from there, you know?
Yeah, sure. Did you at all consider games like before that kind of harmonics thing like came up as an opportunity?
That's actually a really good thing because I missed the third key point. So in between going to college and starting in the games industry, I took a job selling stuff on the internet. I was working for the company that would become Wayfair, and doing theater scores at night. Staying up till 2 or 3 a.m. writing, and then going to work the next day. I decided I didn't want to do that, and decided I want to go back to school. So I went out to CalArts out in LA. And while I was there, we got a presentation from I can't even remember his name, Tom something, who was a technical sound designer working on the PS3 version of Warhawk. And he talked through all of the different problems they had to solve, all the different sort of aspects of technical sound design. And of course, I'd been like a huge gamer before then, and I was like, replaying through Chrono Trigger for like the umpteenth time.
Sure, yeah.
It's the best game of all time, by the way. And I saw what this guy was doing, and I was like this is what I love to do in my off time, and what I love to do in my not off time, all wrapped into one thing. And I went up to my advisor and I said, that's what I want to do. I want to go work in video games. And he said, oh man, you don't want to sell out. Like,
Is that what
I
this
was
is?
like, no, I do. I want to do this thing. So that was sort of the impetus for reaching out to, seeing who was in my network, and reaching out to Matt Bach, and him getting me a look at harmonics.
Sure.
After I had finished up school.
I mean, you joked about your just revolting name dropping there, but honestly, it was like that's kind of a good point. Is that like I have a lot of pals who are now like relatively established, and it's like in like year 10 of their career or something. And I met them at my first GDC, and they were also like in the gang audio demo derby, just like hoping for the best. And it's like I rewatched the demo derby I was in recently, like I don't know, maybe a few months ago, and I was like, oh man, like Brian Higa was in this, like oh man, like Jacqueline Shoemate was in this. I had totally forgot like these people that I know now are like very like they're very employed in games, like they're quite for a long time, and they just were around at the same time. And when you it's a whole this like make friends at events and just trust that you're planting seeds. Like you don't need to be making friends with like the game director on this AAA project to like get the job. You can just trust that you'll be growing with your peers around you, and that there will be a network built there to like mutually support and such.
Totally agree. It's all about having a squad. You're going to be part of a cohort that's going to support each other and bring each other up. Yeah, it's great to know audio directors and things like that. Like that's really helpful. But in the end, like life is long and careers are long, and you're going to be part of a group of folks who are going to learn from each other, collaborate with each other, support each other, pick each other up when you have setbacks. You're going to be part of a family of like game audio folks, who are gonna, who are your contemporaries, and you're gonna, cheer for each other, when you're bringing home awards and stuff like that. And yeah, it's really important, as you said, like show up, be nice, like make friends, and opportunities will come. I know it's hard. I always feel a little bad when I give people that advice, because it's not like solving the problem that they're in right now. People are like, Caleb, I came to you for telling me how to get job, and you're telling me to go hang out with people and make friends. And like, I always feel a little bit bad, but like, that is how it sets up. You gotta like find your squad and work together.
Yeah, it's I mean, of all the people we've had on this show who have given their own personal kind of like account of how they got their start, like the one parallel across basically all of them is like, yeah, I just made some friends and that led somewhere. Basically, it's kind of which it's so vague to give that kind of advice. Like, well, which friends do I make? It's like, well, I don't know, and you don't either, and that's okay. Like, I've made tons of friends in the industry that didn't lead anywhere professionally, but that's fine. They're still great people, and I might like buy their game they made or something, but we've like never worked together, and that's totally fine. It may still end up that same person that you don't work with ever may just like recommend you because they've got their sound covered, but their buddy is like, hey, I need a sound designer. And it's like, no, you can't have mine. Mine's full time. So, but go hire like Caleb or whatever, right? And that's
exactly.
a very, very not unusual thing to come to pass as far as like, game audio network stuff goes. So,
Truth.
anyways, okay, we could definitely talk about this stuff for a long, long time, but we have a very patient Branden Clarke waiting in the chat. So, yes, if you're unfamiliar with Real Talk, I didn't really give the intro to this show yet. This is, in fact, the first time we've had a guest host on video. I'm using new OBS scenes right now. There you go. Okay, so criteria. Yeah, we're looking at some game audio, demo reel, and website content from a couple of folks, Ian and Branden today, who have sent the things in, hoping to get some more traction in their career. A little more, just trying to give some feedback to help them land the kind of gig they're looking for. So we're going to be looking at this like loose criteria down below. I worked with Matthew Martinson a long time ago. He used to co-host this show to kind of get some bullet points together to keep us somewhat on the rails, since this is a very like tangent heavy and tangent friendly stream. So first up is presentation. We're looking at just the site overall, where your eye is attracted, what things you click on first, if there's too much information, not enough information, that kind of thing. As well for the reel itself, if it flows nicely, if it's like a good length, if again information is there about the person and the works they've included in the reel. Material selection is what pieces have been selected for the portfolio and for the demo reel itself, and what do those pieces suggest to somebody coming in blind like myself or a potential employer or something like that. What it might suggest about your past work history, your current skill sets, and your future ambitions. Content quality is, are you good? Is your content good? And there's just a standard for the industry. It's like the industry standard of awesome, basically. And if it's hitting that, then awesome. If there's room to grow somewhere, we'll try and let you know what you could maybe level up next. And distinction, are you standing out in some positive way? And this is kind of just like a yes or a no. It's really important because there are so many people looking for these kind of jobs to make some kind of positive impression. And that might not even be in the audio itself. It might be like, we've certainly had on this show like websites that were just crazy slick and super branded and stuff. And the reel itself was like wholly mediocre. It was like very, very kind of like amateur and like rookie mistakes here and there. But despite that, I'm like, holy crap, like this site looks so good. This person's obviously very serious. And I kind of suspect that in like 6 months, they're going to be just killing it and they're going to be way better. So even though I wouldn't hire them today, it's still, when the name pops up again, I'll be like, oh man, like I'm watching this now kind of thing, as opposed to like, okay, well, here's some random person that landed in my inbox, right? So so we're going to try and hit those 4 as best we can. And we'll start with Branden Clarke. You have the sites up there, I assume, Caleb?
Yep, ready to go.
Okay, awesome. So let me just clear that over. Okay, so Branden Clarke, IG88 music in the chat, by the way, if anyone just rolled in and didn't realize. And thank you for being here, Branden. It makes this a lot smoother and a lot easier to kind of be able to hit you up for like clarification on choices you've made and so forth. Okay, so front page is a name. Just a name. That's it. Okay.
Yeah,
next.
I remember it struck me. I first looked at the site on mobile, and I was like, "Ooh, so austere," and like the navigation was a little bit hidden on mobile. So you may want to take a look at your mobile optimization and sort of how you lay out. But I don't know. It's nice. I mean, it doesn't. I'm a stickler for like I love sort of simple modern design. It doesn't say much about you, but I don't know. I think it's clean.
Yeah, it's definitely super minimal. I have like really hard opinions on this stuff, and I always feel like the first 10 seconds on the page are like the most important ones almost. So this is certainly a valid approach. We see a lot of web pages that like are like this on the front page instead, with the real page I'm on now, right? So we're just like, here's the video and press play. This is why you're here. Here you go.
Right.
So yeah, Branden, it really is up to you. If you prefer kind of like what Caleb was just talking about, like that kind of presentation instead, it's fully your call. But yeah, it's you can't go wrong having the video just like in their face, like okay, land here and press play, and we'll go from there, kind of thing.
Yeah, to sort of pile on there, as I said, my experience on mobile when I was taking a walk, took a look at the site. There was a moment where I was like, I can't like make emojis appear above my head, but it was like question mark.
Yeah, sure.
And I was like, where do I get the thing? So yeah, like moving your reel forward, your reel page forward to the home page might be beneficial if that's where you're trying to drive your traffic.
Okay. Yeah. So,
Should we watch the thing?
right, game audio reel. We'll get back to that. We'll get there. We'll take a
Okay.
quick
I want to watch
browse
the
through.
thing.
Well, that's good though, right? So there you go, Brandon. It's like, oh, there's a play button. I'm gonna press it. It's
Yeah.
It's also a minute and 1 second. Sweet. It's a good length. Game audio reel showcasing some of my recent work. Additional info and other projects can be found in my portfolio. Contact stuff, LinkedIn stuff, Twitter stuff, and mail to link. Okay. Next up, we got about. Let's learn about Branden. Okay, greetings. My name is Branden Clarke, and I'm a game audio designer and electronic music artist from Seattle, Washington. Since my early exposure to digital audio production in middle school, I have remained completely infatuated with capturing and manipulating sound. This led me to pursuing a career of composing, performing, mixing, and mastering music for over a decade. Nice. My work has contributed to PBS, Nordstrom, Amazon, and Starbucks. I've had the honor of performing some of these original compositions alongside the Seattle Symphony Orchestra at Benaroya Hall, as well as a TED Talk on music performance and inspiration. I like this bio so far. As a part-time electronic music teacher at the nonprofit Seattle School, Coyote Central, I have a unique opportunity to share some of what I've learned along the way with aspiring artists in an endlessly inspiring environment. Nice. For most of my life, I've also consistently found therapeutic escapism through video games, whether through the world immersion of a captivating solo campaign or the rekindling of an old friendship via late-night multiplayer matches. Combining these two unwavering passions of music and video games into my work as a sound designer has been incredibly rewarding, and I am dedicated to learning as much as possible throughout each game development experience. I have had the privilege of contributing to a few projects, most recently working as the junior sound designer with Ilphonic on Predator Hunting Grounds. I love this bio. It's like written really nicely.
It's beautifully written. I think my one, I would maybe have my like one critique is like I would maybe pull a picture up top ahead of the text. But no, it's really lovely. Maybe a hair long, but I don't know. I think it captures your spirit really well. I feel like I've met you a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is such a nice departure from. I'm not sure you're aware, Brandon. We get the odd bio where it's like, I love video games. I'm passionate about game audio, and we're like, we sure hope so. You know, like that's kind of if you can apply those sentences to like anybody, then it shouldn't be in your bio probably. And these are all. This whole bio is really you. So yeah, nice work. I had like fun reading that. There's some fun like combinations of words and stuff. And I'm not a writer at all, so it's one of the things I'm the worst at in the world is writing. So I really appreciate that kind of thing.
It comes across as humble too, you know, like you've done a ton of stuff. And you manage to weave that in be like, so that when you read it, you're like, oh, wow, this guy's like not mega green. But you do it in a way that, that, you know, comes across as humble and thankful and like that leaves you with a really nice feeling.
With the music note tat also very nice. Well done. Means he's serious. Okay, here's a question for you. This is something that like never comes up for us in the indie space, but I'll see like this like WISE certificate sometimes on some pages. Is this thing important to like the AAA space to see this kind of thing on a website, or is like that's just fine to put in a resume? Like, how do you feel about that?
Don't care.
Okay, there you
honestly
go.
Like really like we will talk about it yeah, I don't like certificate programs. Like it's fine that you've taken this class, so you know WISE. You can just tell me that you know WISE, and I feel like I can ascertain whether or not you know it, by talking to you for 2 or 3 minutes about, you know, what you've built or things that you've built before. And yeah, so it's, I hate to be a downer, but for me, when I'm evaluating candidates, it's like, no, not important.
I think that's the thing that comes up a lot with other guests is like, do you care what software they use? Like if they put, hey, I use like Contact Instruments, and you're like, okay, you know, it's not the most relevant thing. I'm way more interested in like if your stuff is awesome. Okay, so we got on the portfolio a few things. Somber Shooter. I didn't realize these are things that I'm most over it.
These are shipped, dude. Like this is like shipped stuff.
Predator Hunting Grounds.
It's cool.
There you go. Fmod music system, just something he did on his personal time, looks like, or maybe it's from something else. I don't know. Perhaps we'll learn more later on. Fully recording, some veggies, classic, and we got various projects below. I kind of like that last thing being like, and by the way, this isn't why you're here, but here's some things. I do like that kind of thing being just at the end. And finally,
it's a bunch of other really. It's like good commercial work. It's like, you know, it shows that a bunch of production experience. But I do, as you were saying, it brings focus to the purpose of the site. That this is about interactive. This is about game audio. This is about, and I've done all this other commercial work. I've done all this post work. And it's interesting if you want to dig in it. But yeah, I love the focus.
So speaking of focus, Udon Engineering, who previously yelled Caleb in the chat. You might not know who that is. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Murray also, and Andrew. I saw you roll in. What's up? So made a very good point that was already in my brain, absolutely. And it was in my brain from the original tweet saying like today featuring, and I was like IG88 music. And the fact that music seems pretty heavily ingrained in your background, which you can't really change, obviously, that's just how things are. And also just like in your handle in some places, but on others. Like I see it's Branden Clarke, or is it here? Hold home again. The contact.
It's Branden Clarke music at Gmail.
Okay, there it was. Yeah. So music also.
Yeah.
So Udon Engineering says, the repeated focus on music makes me feel like sound design's a far second while you're presumably going for a sound designer gig. I think that, I would agree that's my impression. And then I think what'll happen is it'll come down to the reel. And if the reel sounds like bonkers awesome, then I will no longer care about that. It'll be fine. Because there do exist people who do it both, like who do music and are awesome and do sound design and are awesome. But it's not common. Like usually you can tell they're leaning on something. Like if it's, hey, here's like my music and my sound in a trailer or something, like a trailer rescore and redesign. And the music's like just cranked, and the sound is like there sometimes. Like, okay, well, obviously you're composer first. So yeah, Branden, I'm curious to hear what it's like, because sometimes I'm like really surprised. So Unicorn, says Josh. Yes, exactly. Okay, I think the time has come to listen to this thing, Caleb.
Okay.
So let me just go.
I'll mute up and
give
it a good loud listen.
I will too. Oh, what the heck? I have no... Okay, well, I guess we'll figure this out in a second. Okay, I'll let myself in 3, 2, 1, and go. Unmute. Some applause. Some claps for Branden. Thanks, Branden. Okay. So before we
Sorry.
dive into the, please
I need one more second. Sorry, I went back a little bit.
go for it.
I'll be right with.
Okay, I'll mute myself in the meantime. Yeah. So, love this intro, man.
Okay, I'm ready.
So am I. Okay, so I guess before we dive into the thick of it, we got a good 17 minutes to blast through this, so no problem.
Cool.
Do you have any just like a couple sentences first impression?
First impression, really well presented. I thought the like information presentation in your lower thirds was great. I like the initial reason why I went back is I was like, well, like this is shipped product that he's showing us. Like, what did he actually do here? And it's like, oh, it's right there. So it was great to get that information. Yeah, I have a couple of like, I think the strength of like the asset strength could come up a little bit. Like, I was talking specifically about the redesigns because I do think like you could juice your game captures a little bit just to showcase what you worked on, but like that's not really fair. But I think like the magic redesign felt like a little bottom heavy to me. And then I found some storytelling issues with the Hammer of Dawn sequence that I wanted to sort of talk about a little bit more in depth. Like that clip, if we want to, do we want to go linearly or should we just jump to that?
We'll how about this? Let's go through like the criteria thing, and then
Cool,
we'll
cool.
yeah, we'll definitely get to that because I think I know where you're going with that. So, so presentation first here. That's a good question for you actually. So of like when you're looking at demo reels and such, do you have a length that you think is kind of ideal?
Yeah, I tell people like 2 minutes or less. And obviously I felt like this was paced like really well. It was never boring. It always had valuable information so I could learn about you as a sound designer. And it was snappy. Like,
Yeah.
I think this is really kind of perfectly paced. Like, you could add one more thing, but like to be honest, don't. Like, it's just really tight.
Yeah,
It's
I
really
think
good.
the thing with like I said before we watched it, Branden, I was like, oh, it's a minute and 1 second. Like just knowing that ahead of time, even though I'm inclined to agree with Caleb as far as like the kind of content details and stuff, kind of like the contour and stuff on the magic design. Even though I was like, okay, like we can make some improvement there. I was like more than willing to keep watching it. I didn't feel like, okay, like let's skip ahead. I got the idea because I knew it was a minute long. So even when you hit a reel that is like really poor, which is just not, if you hit like a poor reel and it's a minute long, I'll still be like, I'll watch it. You know, but if I see it's like 7 minutes long or something, there's no way I'm going to watch that whole thing, and I'll be either leaving the page or like skipping ahead for sure. So yes, you grabbed our attention and held it, and I didn't have a problem with the flow at all. So nice work. Just one small note, like titling stuff. So maybe this is actually part of why you missed it. It's really low in the frame, right? Is that like it's on a lower third? It's like at the very bottom.
And, it's low in the frame, and I think Josh makes a good point in the chat. Is that I looked at it, looked away, and then by the time I looked back to see that it contained the like data about what you actually did, it had moved on to like the next scene, and so I went back to look at the jungle sequence again to catch that. So yeah,
I fully missed that entirely. Actually, I didn't even realize there was a transition. So there you go. Yeah, I just saw the junior sound designer. I was like, okay, got it, and like looked away. So yeah, there's a point. One other thing, sorry, just the low in the frame thing, Branden, just bring it up to like a third the way up the image. So it's like, no, it's called a lower third, right? So it's a third up. And that just helps it like stay out of the way of like the UI. Also, it's just like a general convention thing. That's a small detail. It certainly helps. And one thing I want to bring up is Caleb had mentioned how he's so down with your site design, but like this intro has like nothing to do with your site design. And I was waiting for like like a really quiet moment, like Branden Clarke game audio, right? And instead, like, this is, I mean, it's cool. This is definitely cool. It just surprised me because it's so at odds with everything else you have going on as far as like the branding you've established. Really up to you if you want to address that. I mean, I certainly like it's a very good look when you see a page like has a very strong identity besides the audio. And it's the kind of thing like this won't hurt you, but it won't help you. Whereas if the whole thing was like really cohesive, that'll for sure be a plus.
I would just say that like I like trailers that have branding bumpers. That's at least the term I use for sort of audio iconography.
Yep.
I like trailers that have demo reels that have branding bumpers. This branding bumper is pretty cool. So if you want to sort of work that sort of neon-y look into the rest of your site, then go for it. And E Creates Audio says real is cyberpunk, site is classical. Very cool. So but I think like in terms of the treatment over the icon, like I think it's good. It's not mind-blowing, but I think it's good. And so you can maybe plus that a little bit. But I think it's
yeah, it kind of smacks of nice. It smacks a bit of like what I think we may end up talking about with the Hammer of Dawn redesign. It's sort of like parallels there. So I guess material selection wise, just having seen this once through, and assume this is all you've seen of his stuff, what kind of gig do you think he's looking for, like in the indie space or like freelancing or AAA studio, or what do you think?
Oh, like it feels like he's looking for a studio gig at a larger studio. Sure. Definitely feels like.
Yep, I agree. So you can confirm or deny that in the in the chat, Branden. If that is correct, then good work. If not, then perhaps there's some changes to be made.
Yeah, Kevin, you can talk to this a little bit. Like, what is because I've lived my life in like the larger studio space, aside from, one project, which was a startup with friends. Like, if somebody comes to you with a sort of AAA focused reel and you've got indie projects coming up, are you just going to be like, this isn't the right kind of candidate, they don't want to work the way that we work?
It's not going to be a blanket no, but there will be questions to ask for sure. That'll be like a bullet point in the interview to, probably bolded to say like, is this what you want to do? Because we don't really like our crew is really tight knit culture wise. And I wouldn't want to, I speak for my co-founder, Jeff Tangsock, also, I'm sure he would agree with this. We wouldn't be like looking to hire somebody who's looking at Power Up like a stepping stone. Like I want to work here and get a few credits so I can go work at like Bungie or something. Like that's not really what we want to like invest our time into. We want to like really foster someone to like work on the kind of games that they love, which is hopefully the kind of games we work on. So it's not that we'd say like absolutely not, but if they have like just skill level of whatever X, and X is good, and then we have another reel that is all indie stuff and maybe some things we've even worked on, they redesigned, then of course it's going to look way better compared to the AAA one, right? So it's a matter of just tailoring your reel for its audience.
Got it. Cool.
Okay, so Branden says about bumpers, reel was lacking yesterday. The cyber bumpers, there you go. Does not match.
I mean, they make it better, no question.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, just let us know for the AAA spaces where we want to end up there, Branden. And yeah, to that point too, Caleb, our crew, we kind of hang out in like the triple I, like tongue in cheek space, where really all it means is like indie teams that have their shit together. That's all that it really means. Like a budget and a production timeline and stuff. Like that's where we hang out, and a lot of those projects look like pretty pretty AAA. Like we did like Darksiders Genesis, and we're working on Ruined King, a League of Legends story right now, and they're
Nice.
like like very high production quality kind of projects. So
Yeah.
yeah, it wouldn't be that some AAA redesign is like completely a huge diversion from what we usually work on. Just the focus might be unclear. Okay, so let's talk about content. We got like 10 minutes ish. So let's go through maybe just linearly. Do you have any quick notes on the Predator clip, Hunting Grounds?
I think I liked the jungle soundscape quite a bit.
Sure.
I thought it was pretty dynamic. Lots of good motion, and it would be nice. I'm like a technical nerd, so I've been like, what systems did you put together to make this jungle work and things like that. But I thought that was like pretty pleasant. I thought the like weapon and UI work could use more transient punch. Like it had sort of like nice bits, but sort of lacked a tactile feel for the UI to give like quick feedback for confirms and things like that.
Sure.
And then just like a real nice crunchy sort of feel to the bow weapon.
Yeah, there's something to be said for like that transient. I hadn't thought of that, but you're absolutely right. Like the transient on the selection here. Where is it?
Mm-hmm.
There it is. Yeah, it's. I think there's something to be said there, Branden, as far as like using transients to help define like families of sounds almost. So if you have like an open, like a pop-up opening versus like a confirmation or versus like a cancel or versus like a navigation forwards or a navigation backwards, like having something like as a confirm being like yeah, you did this thing, good job, player. You're making forward progress in the story you are telling, like the interactive story you are which you are leading right now. The story being, I chose this weapon and I'm gonna kill this fool, right? Like that's an awesome point. I like that a lot.
To some extent, it's like this is like maybe a little bit of showing my hand for the Hammer at Dawn stuff, but like Predator is like about it's like kind of a like hard sci-fi, and so it's the technology is used, like the Predator is dirty, everybody's like crawling around in the mud and stuff like this, and this treatment is quite clean. And so yeah, I was just sort of thinking like I want like a little more grit in it, like a little more, obviously I'm Monday morning quarterbacking these sounds, but yeah, that was just sort of feel on
it. No, that's why you're here. It's fine. That's the entire role you're playing right now. It's okay.
Do you want to change the name of the show?
Do you want to talk about the magic stuff a bit? You were talking about the assets being like had some room.
Yeah. So the magic stuff I think is nice and actually served as like a nice counterpoint to the Predator stuff that I actually thought was a little lacking in punch and low end. Like the magic stuff, and this I've worked on card games. The magic stuff was like a little flat and could use more crispness, and more like 10K to get really specific. The cards just needed to be a little bit brighter. The impacts were like had the low end thump that you want. Everything had like the low end feel, but like I just want a little bit more sonic interest in the high ends to I don't know, you can use the high end to differentiate the sounds a little bit more, so it's not just all sort of like thonk 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 thonk, right? And there's like, it just felt like there's part of the frequency spectrum that you could be doing like really cool stuff in that was a little bit missing. And so yeah, like this is like, it's just a thing that you sort of learn through reps. Like quick anecdote, I was doing some like debris assets on Call of Duty, and I like sent them to Dave Swenson, the audio director, and he was like, brighter. And I was like, really? They're very bright. He was like, no, brighter. And I was like, okay. And I like kept cranking, and I had probably went through 3 or 4 revisions of making making it yet more brighter, yet more harsh. And I was like, this is way too much. But like in the end, like I go back and listen to them and I'm like, man, those like really rip. Like they sound great. So yeah, just like that would be my takeaway for the Magic stuff. I think it's cool to take on a completely different genre. I think one thing I did notice was that like the opponent turn banner, when that came up, like there wasn't really a corresponding moment for that. And that, like, from an information design standpoint, when you're thinking about like what are the important things to like message to players when you're doing a card game, that it is their turn is probably the most important thing. And so that actually needs to, like, from an information design layout, needs to be pretty big and bold. So
Right,
yeah,
like it's their turn,
definitely
or is like no longer their turn. That's kind of the opponent being like it's time for you now. Like no more you players. Sorry.
yeah, yeah, it may be the case that like what you would do, and here I am like napkin designing this, is that like opponent's turn would be small and then your turn would be really big, and you would like swap the sounds over the network. But yeah,
cool. Yeah, down with all that. Moving on. Let's go to. All right, this is your big moment. Marathon. Yeah, I'll let you take the reins in this one. Go for it.
okay, so a couple of things here. The like to talk about philosophically what this clip is about, right? This is about something that this is about like beauty and ugliness, right? It's about the juxtaposition of those two things. At least this is sort of how I feel like you're trying to set this up, in that you have these shafts of light that like to some extent feel like they are like, you know, heaven sent, like angels coming down, and they make this tone. I deeply believe that you should have the different shafts make different tones, and that they can like come together to make this beautiful thing. And then you have at the back of this, it's like beautiful thing, moment of like don't know what's going to happen. Really important to like tie that moment of like the beam stopped. What's going to happen? Tie that moment up like super in with a bow on it, because like that's one of those like really great sound design opportunities. If you want to go digital silent, you can. If you really need to make sure that everything like sucks up into that one little brief moment, and then you're like beauty, stop, destruction, right? And like you see in the image, you know, it's like blowing up all this beautiful classical art, quote, beautiful classical architecture, and this like, you know, statue of an angel is getting destroyed by this huge thing. Like that's what it's about, right? Like, and so really focusing on that moment of like leading up to, you could even do like, you know, like reverse your sounds into themselves, so you can like really like suck them back into themselves and then release them. And then you really want to hit like a big, it is like a rolling blast, but I think it's really important to hit the moment of transition from beams to destruction pretty hard, rather than just have it be like it stops and then like slow roll out. I think you need something to fill that void to
like
hit that transition.
something entirely different to change over to, as opposed to like just changing the current sound a bit. Because it's like just like an octave down is kind of maybe not enough of a change to illustrate like the magnitude of the change actually occurring in this shot. Okay, well I have nothing else to add there, man. Honestly, like that was quite an insightful analysis of this this 6-second clip. So, yeah, okay, great. So I guess the only thing remaining is, after having seen this work for half an hour, do you think that Branden Clarke is standing out in some positive way in a crowd?
Yes, I do think so. I think like I think there's work to do, but I think like Branden is like I don't know, Kevin, you'd feel better, but like I would see this and I'd be like, promising candidate,
Yeah, sure.
like has shipped work, can present that work like really effectively. Has some growing to do on the sound design front, but that's like teachable and
Hmm.
reps, right? But like would like fit in, seems to be present themselves really well and be like a really uh nice person, at least from how they present themselves through their web presence and through their written work. So yeah, I would absolutely talk to Branden. Um,
Awesome. Yeah, it's I'm inclined to agree across the board. Like it's the foundation of music you have is also like we talked about like the music in your name and the brand being kind of maybe off-putting if you're looking for a sound design gig, and that's something that comes up a lot on this show. But really, speaking for Power Up, for instance, like we hire for or rather we highly value musical background when we're looking for sound designers, and that goes for like contract work or for in-house positions. Because like myself, I went to post-secondary for music composition. My co-founder like took music theory post-secondary. All our guys like play in bands and stuff. Like it's definitely really relevant to understand like tonality and phrasing and storytelling through music and so forth, and applying those principles through sound design too. So the fact that you have that is a huge boon. So I hope that you didn't interpret my like, oh, but you're music though, therefore you can't be sound design. Like that's not at all what I'm saying. It's just that there are sometimes assumptions made when you present yourself as like, I'm a composer, but also a sound designer. It's like, well, we'll see kind of thing, right? Yeah. So like seeing this kind of thing too, I haven't watched this yet, but the Fmod music system you have looks like you've got some text, which means you're not narrating it. I want you to narrate it instead. I'm assuming you're not if there's text on the page. I will watch this later on. I'm gonna leave this open. I'm gonna watch this after the stream because we gotta get to Ian stuff. But yeah, I mean, this is a great example of Branden. If you were like, okay, I'll see you in 6 months, or I'll see you in like 3 months, and you just like crank away, then that would be awesome. And I'm sure I would like love to see your work at that point. So thanks a lot, man. GG. Some claps for you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm leaving this open and go to Ian Strother. I'm not sure. They're not here to correct me, so we're gonna say Strother.
I'm going with Strother.
Auxiliary sounds.com. Okay. This zoomed in. This is not zoomed in. Wow, this is huge. So can I zoom in more to get the text bigger? This is a crazy page so far.
It's very big.
Huge. Oh, and you know what? I zoomed in to 150, and now if you see on like the eyes are no longer cut off. I just realized that the A is actually cut off 100%. Like the text doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see that the Y and the A are getting very obviously being cut off at the top and bottom there. I'm going to zoom in to 150 just to make things a bit easier for everyone to read. Okay, so welcome. With a strong passion and a creative approach, I'm committed to bringing the very best audio experience to the project. Whether it be laser sounds for the next hit video game or dialogue editing for your film or podcast, you will receive top-notch audio content for all your sound design needs. Welcome to Auxiliary Sounds. So this definitely smacks of like, we're a team, like a studio doing third-party work so far.
Yep.
But then it's also maybe just Ian, so we'll see. I see also like the Let's Chat widget at the bottom.
Yeah, I am not into the chat bot.
Yeah, nor am I.
Personally.
This is, I don't know if you're aware of this, with those shows you have seen, Caleb, but I hate Wix.com. I'm not a fan at all. This is not egregious. There's some pages like, create your free site with Wix today. It's like the full banner at the top of the page, and I'm like, this is such a bad look. Yeah, it is, or stuff where it's like, it'll be like their bio, and it's like, share this to Twitter now, and you're like, no one's ever gonna share your bio on Twitter, man. So it's just like template stuff that maybe looks templatey, and like this Let's Chat thing. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I would like never click that if I was looking to work with you. I would just like, your number's right there. I'm just gonna call you, or I'm gonna email you. Okay, so we have the welcome. We have, I guess, the logo here. We have a video below, which is unlabeled. and is a gray rectangle. So
Yeah, I could use a frame. Is this the? Yes, this is the real.
okay, so that is the real. We'll just move
Yeah.
on from there for a second. So we'll go to, I guess we're already home right now, right? Yes. About
Mm-hmm.
me. And there's that logo again. This is, again, zoomed in though. So zoomed at 100%. It's not quite as huge. Hello there. A brief introduction. Okay, my name is Ian Strother, a sound designer currently living in LA. From a young age, I have had a passion for music. I began playing bass guitar when I was 13, which led me to playing in jazz, punk rock, pop, and funk bands, as well as classical music orchestras throughout my entire life. Excuse me, that's pretty varied. Eventually, this passion led me to Expression College for Digital Arts in Emeryville, California. There, I learned the ins and outs of audio production, from signal flow mixing techniques to the basics of the electronics themselves. It was a great experience where I earned it's a typo.
Uh-oh.
I earned a bachelor's degree. Two spaces. That smacks of. I meant to delete the word the. I earned a
One
bachelor's.
of my jobs being typesetter, I'm like, oh no. Anyway, go for it.
I earned a bachelor's degree in applied sciences, as well as the honor of salutatorian of my graduating. I've never even seen that word before. Salutatorian of my graduating class. During my time at Expression, while my head was spinning from all the wonderful information, one particular practice stuck out to me: sound design. The idea that someone sitting at a DAW created every sound that that I hear across all media platforms was mind-blowing. All the sounds I loved from Star Wars 1977 came from the real world, and the sounds from my favorite video game Halo 2 2004 were recorded and edited in a DAW not unlike what I was learning. The realization opened my eyes to a whole different world. Okay, from that moment onward, I knew being a sound designer was the only career I could ever choose. This discovery eventually led me to where I am today, living in sunny LA and making the coolest sounds possible. Okay. I have thoughts. You, Caleb?
Yeah, this just needs to be cut down a bunch.
Yeah.
It's like it tells a story, but there's a lot of filigree. Basically it's like, I think hello there, a brief introduction can probably go. Like, I just don't know if it vibes with your brand very much, the like hello there thing. But so
It
your name's Ian. Or go ahead, sorry.
Worth maybe considering, Ian, is that on the front page, as we said, that opening kind of blurb really smacks of like, hey, like we're a crew looking to do work for you. But then we learn that you are Ian. Like Auxiliary Sounds is Ian. And that kind of like branding disconnect, it's whether it even is a disconnect is kind of, again, up to you to decide. But in general, if you're looking to work freelance, which I get the impression of so far, I'm not positive, but I mean, just from that front page being like, I can do whatever you need for your sound design project. Yeah, so it feels freelance. If it is freelance, I can tell you that video games are a very personal industry. And so, for example, like hiring Power Up Audio for your sound needs, yes, that's what's on the contract. Sure, it's like they're hiring the incorporated entity, right? But really, they know Kevin, they know Jeff, they know Craig, Cole, Joey. Like they know who they're working with, and they have a personal relationship with that person. So I think as a sole proprietor of Auxiliary Sounds, I think that it's totally cool to have like a brand like that. Auxiliarysounds.com is awesome.
Very cool.
Just, I think that if you feel like, and this is where I'd love if you're in the chat right now, but if you feel like you need to lean into like a corporate image to get hired in a professional capacity, it's just not the case. Like you can definitely be hired individually, if not more easily, for freelance gigs. Like people want to know who it is they're working with because they're going to be working with them for a long time. I mean, or potentially a long time, at least for some larger projects. Yeah. So like this bio does tell a story of you, and I agree it can be cut down a bunch, but I think that, yeah, learning about you and like what makes you a good hire and like where you came from and the things you've done and so forth is what I would focus on here. So things like saying how Star Wars and Halo were made is like not as relevant to you specifically. It's like kind of a anecdotal thing that you might tell them over a beer kind of thing. Like, yeah, it was so cool. Like one of these things. But for your bio, it's probably more than you need to have here. From my perspective, at least.
I understand that it's like about the bridge of getting to like, I decided I wanted to be a sound designer. I mean, I would kind of assume that you wanted to be a sound designer, given that you like were going to expression. I would probably cut that entire paragraph.
Sure.
Just because it's like, it doesn't actually. So what I know is that you like Star Wars from this, is that you like Star Wars and you like Halo 2. And which is wrong because Chrono Trigger's the best video game.
I was so waiting for it, man. It's like, is it gonna come up? What's happening?
And that's like, and you want to be a sound designer, right? Like, so it's just like, you can really cut and hone this down. It would be cool, like to, have a picture of you. It's like, I don't know if it's like, there is this like sort of corporatist, like we have a logo, we have a name, a very good name at that. And like, yeah, so it might not be the sort of brand that you're going after, but like you were saying, Kevin, like I want to know Ian. Like I want to know what Ian's about. Like Ian can probably lay down a sick bass line.
Totally. Yeah, there you go. Right. Like the music background is awesome. As far as like, here's all the things I've done. That's an awesome thing to include in your bio. It comes down to like what we were saying with Branden's bio is like his bio is so awesome because it's so specific to him. And yeah, showing again, like the value you bring to a team is where you want to hang out for sure. And also realize that in my experience, at least, generally, if someone's reading your bio at all, it means your demo reel was good. Because think about like if you apply for a gig, Ian, and someone tweets out like, we're looking for a sound designer for the new hit Kickstarter indie project. They're gonna get like 400 applications, right? And so you can assume that given there's so many, the person who's hiring or the team who's hiring will be like blasting through reels and demo reels and stuff like that, and not really spending a ton of time like parsing through multiple paragraph bios. They will do that absolutely once they hear your stuff is awesome. They're like, okay, well now who is this person? So yeah, things like having a photo there is like kind of like it's the two of the 1-2 punch. Like the one being this awesome demo reel and the two being like, and here's me like playing bass or something like that, like something relevant to audio. And it can go a long way to help kind of bridge that. Like it's almost like it serves as the bridge towards like that first conversation with the person. They already feel like they may know you and like you before they even met you, right? Okay, let's get on to redesigns. We got putting a twist on things. A great way for sound designers to start getting their feet wet in the world. Yeah, so again, this is like describing what a redesign is. Below, you'll find a number of redesigns that range from dramatic trailers to, like, I think, again, just in terms of like trimming the fat, I don't think you even need that text there. Like, people are going to know that it wasn't you that did this project. That's fine.
Additionally, like, not to, like, to bury the lead here, but, like, many of these appear in the reel. So it's interesting that they're, like, split out here.
So you've already watched the reel. I have not. Just as
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all right. Yes, we give all our guest hosts like free reign. You can prepare or not. It's up to you.
I'm sorry.
I don't.
It's the only reason why I could speak intelligently about that Hammer of Dawn.
Oh no! Yeah, really showed your hand there. My God. Okay, so that's one thing that comes up that will probably come up in a few minutes here. Is generally when it's the 1-2 punch thing, man. Like if you have a demo reel that's awesome. And then it's awesome enough that they want to click through to anything else. If it's a portfolio or your blog or your bio or whatever, if they're willing to do that, that represents a moment of trust. That okay, you've convinced me so far that your stuff is worth looking at to look at closer to a further degree. And if they're then met at that click through with like the same thing, I'm not sure if that's what you're saying, Caleb, but if let's say it's like this. Miles Morales redesign, 35 seconds long. If that whole thing, for instance, was in the demo reel, then there's nothing new here. Like it's just the same thing again. Whereas if it's something like, hey, here is like that the last reel we watched with Branden. Let's say that, for example, we have that Predator clip, and it's like, I did implementation of ambient stuff, and then you click through the portfolio, and there was like this 7-minute long video of Branden explaining like everything they did in the implementation. Then that's awesome, because it's like, oh, here's additional information. This is what you're here for, right?
Yeah.
But if it's just the same thing again, then it feels like a bait and switch. It's like, hey, here's my sweet portfolio, but it's what they've already seen. So we'll see where we end up with this. Also, Ghosts of Tsushima is misspelled. Fix that. Okay, to creative sounds here. Creative sounds from odd places. Okay, one of the most beautiful things about sound design. Like, so speaking honestly, I'm fully glazed. I don't want to read this.
So. Yeah, no, I'm very much the same. As soon as I saw like T1000, Ben Burt, okay, like, yeah.
Yeah, it's just I just don't read this.
I think like this gave me the thought of like the aesthetic of your branding is like clean and austere. Like, cut the text.
Yeah,
it will vibe with the brand better, and like it'll get you straight to the good stuff. Get people straight to the good stuff.
Yeah, and in one presentation note, these clips are like, they're all just black rectangle. The preview images on all these videos, Ian, are a little bit like
probably just the first frame defaults, right?
It's like a couch. You want a couch to look comfortable, to invite you to sit down, And this is, they're just like black squares. So I have no idea if it's something like, for example, I was totally compelled to click on that Fmod music system preview on Brandon's page because I know what Fmod looks like, and I'm like, oh, sweet, Fmod stuff. Like, okay, here we go. Yeah. Like, it invites you. If there was Fmod here, I would never know it. It just is black, and I might not click it at all because I don't realize it's awesome. So maybe just try to make give us a little more of a hint as far as what we're actually clicking there. Let's go watch your reel. It's getting late.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, I'm just gonna press play and press pause. Oh, it's
We'll do the same.
Okay, cranking it. Okay, you ready?
Right. See you in a sec.
3, 2, 1, and. Oh, it's long. Okay.
While you were sharpening your sword, do you know how I prepared for today?
I would be skipping ahead at this point, by the way. Probably like a good 30 ago, actually.
I learned. I know your language, your traditions, your beliefs, which villages to tame and which to burn. So I'll ask you once again, Samurai. Do you surrender?
C'est tout. Okay. Oh, sorry. First things first. There we go. Okay, cool. Right. So I clicked play, and then I said, I was muted, so you didn't hear me. But I said, "Oh, it's long." then, so
It's like,
I let it play through. What we'll often do on this show is if we do hit one that's like longer, or if it's like losing our interest, we'll like pause at the point where it's like, okay, you lost me, or I'd be inclined to like skip ahead or something, and then just inform them like, hey, just so you know, around here I was feeling like I kind of, the grip was loosening, and so yeah, I mean, even in the first clip, I was like ready to move on, but yeah, we'll get to that. Yes, first impression stuff from you, Caleb.
so I'd say like my first impression is that Ian is like very good at is like a very good synthesist. Like the and I think like what is lacking is like a little bit of the storytelling, and there are some sounds in there that are like really really good. Like I think the Kojima the Koji Pro redesign, super strong.
Yeah,
You
agreed.
can add some interest in there, but I think it's like overall it's super strong. Like he has the ability to nail that like big cinematic kind of feeling stuff, and like my sub was having a wonderful time with this with this reel. But yeah, I do think that there's some storytelling work that can happen, and I think leading off with the Miles trailer, that was actually I think maybe the weakest one for me. There are some things in this. Oh, the Mass Effect is lacking. It sort of falls apart at the end and can probably be cut. Because it doesn't have any sort of focus on the moment. And sorry, I'm getting detailed. This is supposed to be first impressions. Diving in, like there's a lack of actually selling the big moment of that thing, which is like, oh no, it's not Rex. Whatever the other guy is, the other Rex, new Rex. Like, oh no, new Rex got eaten. And then again, it's that like compression release thing, and then you need to hear the story that you're telling is like he's shooting this shotgun that he's been holding, and all you get is this just sort of like long, right?
Sploosh,
There's
yep.
no crispy gun foley or anything like that of like I want to hear him like pull that trigger and just like blammo, right?
Yeah. I think one thing that a lot of the chat's bringing up right now actually is I feel like, and this is kind of jumping ahead to, you know what? I'm gonna back off. I'm gonna deep dive too if I'm not careful. So I'm gonna go and just talk about presentation first. This is too long. You absolutely lost me around right here, like 15 seconds in, because it was just like this synth pad doing its thing with like some kind of like whooshy stuff. But then when
there was any extra,
there's the mask coming away and stuff. Like there's just nothing
like,
there.
Nothing. Yeah.
So it felt kind of like. I mean, this also comes down to like music versus sound design stuff in a demo reel. It does say audio reel, so sort of just everything it looks like. That the wow is definitely arguably music at that point.
Sure.
Just a matter of like leaning on this like expansive pad thing. And
well, yeah, it feels like he found this dope modular patch or guitar pedal setup that makes this crazy thing, and then just let it go.
Yeah.
Over the whole thing, rather than focusing on like the development and what was actually happening in the frame.
Yeah, just in general, Ian, I would encourage you to think of this reel as the teaser trailer, and then yes, if people want to see like the full, the full like Ghost of Tsushima thing or the Kojima Productions thing or whatever, they can then go to your portfolio and watch the whole thing. It doesn't need to be like the whole thing with like the logo at the end and stuff to have all this downtime, because the point is to grip someone's attention and like hold it, like grab them by the scruff of the neck and be like, it's awesome, isn't it? And like just make them watch the whole thing through. With this, there's so much downtime here and there that you're just giving people opportunities to click away. And that should be the last thing that you want to happen, obviously, but for this being, first impressions. So cut it down to a minute. I think that's fully doable, what you have here. The titles, like the Arial text white on the background, is like the absolute minimum you can do and doesn't look the most pro. And that's unfortunate coming from your site with like the logo and so forth. You're clearly trying to build a brand. So it's unfortunate that branding and so forth kind of ends at this opening card. And then that's it. Like having some text that is kind of in the same color, maybe like the same font and so forth, would just be like a very easy jump to make to the titling. And the titles in the top right. So Josh missed the titles entirely, as usually it's the bottom left. Yeah, it's a little more conventional to have bottom left. It's your call. I've seen some titles that are weirder and they kind of work, but in general, yeah, just the basic font in the background is like very, very, very. To be honest, it's just low effort. And when you see a candidate coming in the door whose audio kicks ass, and then someone else comes in, their audio kicks ass, but that person has like a super slick reel,
and it's like slick, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like they're gonna get hired over you. It's just gonna happen because you have shown that you're less serious, and it's not that you are less serious, but that's just what you're communicating by having titles like this. And it might not seem important, but there are these kind of, when you're up against potentially hundreds of people, these kind of conclusions are easy to draw for someone who's just like glancing through a ton of work. So don't discount that as details, super important. Okay, so that's kind of enough for presentation stuff. Material wise, so here's a interesting thing then. We're looking at Ian, assuming he's looking to be doing like third-party freelance work, for sound design projects and stuff. And while it's not unheard of for AAA studios to hire, contract work doing, I know plenty of folks who have, helped out like Sam Justice, Sweet Justice worked on Half-Life Alyx, like on a ton of stuff for Valve, but they're not at
Call
Valve.
of Duty World War II.
There you go. Exactly. I mean, they're an awesome team. But doing the full mix for a trailer is probably not what you would hire someone like Ian, who is relatively newer, it seems, to be doing. So yeah, how do you feel about that as far as like the disconnect, or if there even is a disconnect between the work he's showing and the kind of work he's looking for?
Right, that's a good point. Like I do think that the presentation is focused on trailer work, and there is no gameplay. There's no the sort of work that a junior sound designer would be hired for. It's all this like super cinematic, big stuff that it's great to show your chops on, but but it's not actually the day-to-day work that you're usually actually going to be doing. And it is completely one note, right? This presentation, it's all branding, it's all trailers, it doesn't have a variety of different things.
And that then again speaks, Ian, to the the music and sound in the same reel thing, because if someone someone like Sledgehammer is, or was it Raven? Was Sledgehammer did Call of Duty World War II? Sledgehammer, yeah.
We worked together on it, but it was
right. Okay, so there you go. So Sledgehammer.
All my Raven friends are going to be like, not true.
So if like Sledgehammer is looking to do a hiring contract work, they might want to be hearing. I mean, I'm not going to speak for Sledgehammer, obviously, but like they may a team like theirs maybe wanted to hear your sound design work under the magnifying glass, because that's what they're hiring for specifically. Yes. They don't want to be worried about like what's hiding beneath that super sick like guitar pedal pad thing you've crafted.
It will be if you are going for a sound design position, it will be a significant ding against you if you are if you have prominent music in your reel. I am not one of these people, but some people will be like, hiding behind the music.
Yeah.
Like not interested, right? It's important to put sound design work forward. I would just I would suggest get a hunk of gameplay in here. Well, a small delicate slice, because we want to bring the size of this reel down.
Yes.
But get some gameplay in here and show that you can show the attention to detail, and balance of focus and movement of focus that you need to show if you're redesigning a gameplay sequence.
Yeah.
Things that are indicative of the systems that you need to build in order to ship a game, but are also indicative of the quality of content that you can bring, your design sense, your understanding what's important and what's not. I think it shows a lot.
Yeah, I guess one thing we kind of glazed over, Ian, is like, I mean, we're making big time assumptions here of what kind of work you want to do, because it's what the reel is telling us. Like, it's telling us that you want to work on AAA projects in like a contract work capacity. Well, the demo reel and the site together kind of both, convene to like deliver this conclusion to us. So if that's not true, if you want to be working on like freelance gigs, like indie projects and stuff, then this is like a completely different conversation, because all this stuff is not that. So when you have, again, like if you watch Branden and Clarke before us, we were talking about like what Power Up does. Like if we see like AAA thing roll in the door, and we see some like indie gameplay thing roll in the door, well, the indie gameplay one's going to win every time, because they just seem like a better fit for us. And they see, I can make safe assumptions that you probably understand the kind of like game sensibilities and what kind of projects, and you value like the kinds of projects we're working on. Like A Shell in the Pit here in Vancouver with Gordon McGladdery and M. Halberstadt and others, they do like all wholesome games. So if you roll in the door with like a big shooty like FPS thing, like they're not going to be interested, because you've demonstrated that you aren't a good fit for them. So it really comes down to you clearly defining for yourself first the kind of work you want to be landing, and then crafting your reel to suit the kinds of people that are making those kinds of projects. So this is just we barely talked about content stuff, because there's like much larger issues to solve, I think, than like your sound can be better some places. It really comes down to a communication thing, which is a very common problem in reels. Okay, so that said, it's already 5:34, man. We're going over time here. I apologize.
That's fine.
Okay. As long as you're not like being held hostage and you have somewhere to be.
I'm late for a workout. Okay. I'm working out my aesthetic sensibility.
Well, we can just do some squats while we're talking. That works out well, you know. Okay, so I guess content quality stuff. You had said that the Kojima Productions piece was probably the strongest for you. I'm inclined to agree with that.
Yeah, I'm of a mind that like that this is actually content-wise like relatively strong. I think the back of this is like more music-y stuff, but like the back of the Tsushima trailer was like pretty good. Like the music that comes in there, it's like pretty cool. I'd say overall, it's like there are really cool elements, but there's a lack of the additional detail necessary to fill out the sort of, to make the whole gestalt of like the thing, right? So you listen to the thing and you're like, that is a cool sound. But it feels, and I think somebody in the chat mentioned, like it feels like a layer of the final sound design. Right. But that layer is cool and interesting and good and shows like a level of chops and craft that is, to be honest, like it's surprising. Like it's good. It's like surprisingly good. That's my take.
Yeah, I like it. I like that take. I think Gestalt. Yes, Andrew likes your vocabulary also. Nice vernacular. Okay, I don't really have much to add. I mean, we talked about the Mass Effect thing being kind of like it fell flat, and there was not. It fell short. I guess is maybe the best way of saying it. Just again, the detail stuff is kind of also why I'm inclined to assume that there's stuff hiding. You're hiding gaps in your audio design behind your music, because there are gaps I can see even with the music playing. So I would love to hear what your stuff sounds like if you have no music to lean on. If you just here's your sound design and like make it full and appropriate.
And then just focus on storytelling. Like I think like the most illustrative clip in that is it's in the Tsushima bit. It's at the sequence at like 150-ish when the village is being burned. There's no there's like it's following the action vaguely, but there's no like sort of like screaming or vocalizations or like telling the story of the suffering of the people, right? And like I think there's just like needs to do more of like telling the story. It's the same with like the Miles thing. It's like it doesn't follow that build, and that like that revealing of the person of like Miles's face, of like that whole sequence is like telling a story of, to some extent, like, you know, stripping away, man, here I go, like on philosophical rants, but like stripping away the suit, right, and revealing the person underneath. There's like, you know, you can go back through somebody's history, like you can go back through somebody's life story of how they became Spider-Man through that one piece of sound design, right? Like you can build, there's enough time there to tell that entire story. And so there's just a ton of different opportunities for storytelling that are being left on the table. So you need to like, decide what story you want to tell, and then like use that time to tell it, and make sure that you're focusing your sound design on the story that you want to tell.
I love that. That's great. Yeah, one thing come up in the chat a bunch is, where'd that voiceover come from in the Ghosts trailer? Good question. It says dialogue editing, and I had thought that immediately when it started talking. I was like, okay, where'd this come from? It says dialogue editing. That is, I think, inconclusive.
That would mean to me, like, comes from the game. I mean, I'm in the middle of playing Tsushima right now, and yeah, it sounds like the same voice actor. So, but, like, I'm wondering how the like magic is, like, how do you get those like clean edits out of that? It's like really clean.
Yeah, did you use ISO that stuff out of there? Is that like RX? It's like dialogue RX. Like, wow, sick actually. Very impressed. Yeah, so maybe just be clear there. If it's like dialogue recording / editing, and be like, oh, you found somebody. Cool.
And like, damn, if you did, and if that's like original dialogue, then
it's
like,
good. Yeah,
good stuff.
That comes up a lot. It's like if there's dialogue, like voiceover in a demo reel is almost exclusively terrible. Like it is usually bad. Like it's so rare that it's not bad, that when it's actually not bad, we're like, that can't be the original. Like, that can't be new and recorded. That must be the original, because that's the assumption. It's not like we don't trust you. It's just that everybody else sucks. It's just like no one's ever done good voiceover in a demo reel. So of course there are examples of it. Of course there are, but it's the exception, absolutely not the rule. So yeah,
shout out to my buddy John who did VO for my demo reel for EA. Absolutely knocked it out of the park.
There you go. Great. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you can like hire somebody pro and do it for you, then of course, like absolutely do that. I actually, just as one last anecdote, we're already running over, but when I was in the Gang Audio Demo Derby, as I mentioned earlier, like back in 2012, it was a level from my audio only game Phonopath. And so it's a 45-second clip of this like audio vignette of a guy like breaking into a facility and like hacking a thing, and then it being detected and alarms going off and guys being chased out and gunfire and so forth, right? So I got two guys. It was David Godfrey out of North Vancouver and Gavin Hammond out of California.
I love Gavin Hammond so much.
So that's the thing. Gavin is the king. He's so damn good. And I just knew him because I was working at another studio at the time, and he'd worked on like League of Legends, and we were doing the contract work for that stuff. And just from, working with his stuff a bunch, I just got to know him here and there. And so I was able to use him for this project. And when I played it for the audio derby, it's, like the four, like Paul Lipson on stage and like Scott Gershon and like these guys who have been around the block big time. And they're like, the voiceover was like solid. Who was that? And at the time, I didn't at all realize that why they were shocked, because it's never solid. So it was actually okay. So when I said, oh, it's like David Godfrey and Gavin Hammond, they all also said, oh, I love Gavin Hammond. Like that's just the default response, right? So like if you can do it and hire somebody, like invest in your reel so it's good, then hell yeah, absolutely do that. It just shows that you're serious, right?
Especially since Ian's in LA, so you have local access to like so many great voice actors. So yeah,
tons. People who are even like budding. and want to get into it more, like they'll absolutely work on your thing for like an honorarium of like $100, something like that, for like your 30 seconds of work. Okay, so enough of that. I guess the very last thing is, do you think that with all this together, Ian is yet standing out in a crowd in a positive way?
I do think that I really do think that the asset quality is high, but there are a bunch of, as we've been over, there are like a bunch of presentation problems, storytelling problems, like detail problems, but like the sounds that are there, I do really think are strong. So I think like do some editing, like add some detail, like work in the high end a little bit more, and I think it's like it's a great foundation, I'd say.
No, I'm fully inclined to agree. I think this is a great example of a submission for which the communication is the biggest issue, and it's not a problem of like you aren't good. The problem is that the message is a bit scattered, and I'm not entirely certain like what you want to be working on. And if I kind of skip over this bridge, but if I am not certain what you want to be working on, then it's not so far-fetched to imagine that maybe you don't know what you want to be working on. And that isn't like the absolute best look to deliver. And like, I love
clarity
this.
of thought leads to clarity of communication. So
Totally.
you probably have something to do.
Yeah, just put some time in and like really do some soul searching and decide like, what is it I want to be doing? And maybe you already know very clearly. It's very possible. But at the moment, yeah, just the communication as far as what you want to be doing and how you can do it and so forth is kind of missing. So I would absolutely love to see your approach to like a gameplay reel or something. I'd be super stoked to watch that kind of thing. So it's like falling just barely short of standing out for me just because of the messaging. That's it. Otherwise, yeah, solid work, man, honestly. So thanks a lot. Claps for Ian. And again, Ian, I know you're watching this on the replay, but I won't speak for Caleb, but I am absolutely available on Twitter and so forth if you have any follow-up questions or clarifications or whatever. And that goes for just in general, if people have questions and stuff, I'll try to do my best to answer if I can.
Same goes for me. Like anybody can hit me up anytime.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you for being so gracious about running over time. That's my bad. I'm not managing our time like successfully over here, but
I talk too much.
But
okay.
thank you again for making the time. And actually, I'm shocked that this Discord video stream, the first of its kind, actually seemed to go off without a hitch. You know, I mean, in the last moments, we'll see what happens. But yeah, so thank you for being my guinea pig in that regard too. Making that work. Okay, and of course, if you have anything else you want to like push, anything you're working on right now, or personal projects, anything, the floor is yours. Go for it.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm on Twitter at NecoBus. I don't say interesting things that often, but when I do, hopefully they are. A lot of modular synthesis stuff. If you have a VR headset, you can go sign up for the Facebook Horizon beta and come hang out with your friends and build worlds and stuff. Hopefully it sounds okay. But yeah, other than that, just keep making awesome stuff.
Okay, awesome. This is for you. Thanks, Caleb. Okay, I'll let you go, man. And I have to do this first. Thanks so much.
All right, cheers. It was a pleasure, dude.
Bye-bye. Yeah, so Killer, that was fun. I was very looking forward to that. I was relatively familiar with Caleb's work before the stream and like talking to him beforehand for the test call and now the whole stream. It's like I can't wait to talk to him again. You know, that sounds awesome. If only there would be an event we could both go to and get a beer or something. If only. Hopefully at some point in the future that'll happen again. Hopefully. So thank you everyone for coming out and for hanging out for both those. And Branden for making it to yours. And Ian, no sweat. I know the world happens around us is fine. Reality happens. Life's what happens when you're making other plans, as my grandma used to say. So if you want to submit your own work for Real Talk, feel free, of course. You can do so below at Power Up Audio or at ReggaeMK. That's me personally. Either one will get to us for sure. And if you're not on Twitter, that's fine, of course. You can hit us up at powerupaudio.com. And I guess it's time to play some more Carrion. Is that right? Let's go, Mirage. Oh my god. And go buy Carrion. Go buy and play this game. Holy, it's good. All right, thanks everyone. I'll see you in 2 weeks.